On June 18th, Jamie McTaggart, the lead gameplay designer for Gears 5, was on the Gears developer stream. You're seeing some footage from that conversation right now, and I'll link the full thing in the description if you want to check that out yourself. It's a good listen, and there's a lot of good info about the future of Gears 5 in there. At about 43 minutes into the stream, Jamie is asked about the movement in the game. He acknowledges that a lot of players aren't happy with the state of movement in Gears 5 because it's very unpredictable. He goes on to tease that one of the solutions they are looking at is lowering the speed of the slide to make it easier to react to. This might happen by either lowering the max speed or lowering the acceleration, but I think this is potentially ignoring the bigger problem that he only touched on for a little bit, and that is player momentum. In Gears 5, movements don't really maintain their momentum at all, meaning that when a player stops moving in a direction, it's instant and they can immediately start going in another direction. This lack of momentum and what I can only guess are shorter animation cycles mixed with latency makes it much harder to track player movement. Before I hop into the clips, I want to clear up a couple things. First, this video is only going to talk about momentum and then touch on some animation cycles and animation tweening. Animation tweening is basically a piece of animation that transitions smoothly from one animation to another. For example, the animation of standing up from a roadie run into walking. I'm not going to talk about the wall cancel in this video. The community at large has spoken that the slide cancel is fun and should stay. There's not much else to say about that at this point. Second, these clips are recorded at 30 FPS, but I assure you they are representative of what I saw at 60 FPS. On top of that, none of these clips were from matches with high pings. If I remember correctly, the highest ping in any of these was around 70 milliseconds, so the clips you're about to see should be a good representation of what we see in a normal game. Alright, let's hop into the first clip here. You'll see in this clip the reason why I think that the lack of momentum and character movement is actually a big problem in the game. So as you can see here as I back it up, that as he comes out of the roll, he's going to be committed to a roadie run in that direction, as I correctly predict. But as he is running into the reticle, he's able to kind of immediately turn out of it without ever standing up fully until right about this clip is where he stood up. At this point, you can see right here that mid roadie run, he is turning already, and he turns out of the shot. If this was Gears 4, I'm pretty sure that he would have to have been committed to that roadie run a little bit more, and coming out of it, he would have continued to step into it, or into my reticle. And I do want to take a second to say that I'm not complaining about this. If this is the game that the Coalition wants, then I will just have to adjust if I want to keep enjoying the game. I'm not I want to make it very clear that I'm not complaining about this. This is just something that I think could be fixed in the game and make it a more competitive experience. Unlike in the last clip, you're going to see that the lack of momentum actually makes me lose this fight because I was unable to predict the movement of this mirror that you're about to see. So it's very subtle, and like in real time, it really strikes me as odd, but when you slow it down, you can see exactly what's happening here. So as I come around this corner, I identify that the mirror is running at me, and I go to hold the angle on the up A, getting ready to fire if she decides to slide into the cover. She's still running at this point, so I'm just planning to line a shot up, and as soon as I'm about to pull the trigger, you can see in one frame she goes from full on sprinting in one direction and walking up the stairs like strafing to the left. And of course, you know, in 60 FPS, this would be 2 frames of motion. So potentially there's 3 frames that I would be able to see this, but in 3 frames, you can't react in that time, honestly, to any change in momentum here. Now, this clip is going to focus a little bit more on the animation tweening that I was talking about. You're going to see that this player is going to roadie run and then go straight into an up A without really any change in his animation. So, and I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that I shouldn't have died in this clip. Regardless of what I'm seeing, this is just a really good, clean example of how it's so hard to predict where an enemy is going to move because there's no momentum to the animation, there's no continuation of what you're seeing, and players are able to just kind of do whatever they want from whatever position they're in. And you'll see that right here as he's still roadie running, roadie running, roadie running, roadie running, roadie running, roadie running, and then in that one frame here, goes from here to the gun is slightly raised, that is the only indication that that player is about to slide. You know, in any other given moment, if that player is running up at me and I'm actually holding that for like to hit a back A on that player like I should, this is the amount of time that I would have to react to hit a back A on that player and not fire too early and not fire too late. In this fourth clip, you're going to see kind of the same thing, but instead it's going to be coming out of a roll. So it looks like, you know, I got up A'd, which is a fair assessment of the situation. I was a little out of position for the up A. You know, I want to be clear that I did not play all these clips perfectly. However, I am playing this based off of what I'm seeing, which is I know that this player rolled back, so I'm going to try to land a shot, put him at heavy damage, and then another shot or two should down him. So at this point, the Swarm player is coming out of the roll, and then all of a sudden, he's flying at me. This happens so fast that I'm not able to react because I still expect him to be in this general direction in the center of my screen, but going from this position here to in basically 1 or 2 frames, he starts his slide, and it's just not enough time to react. Is where I'm going from, and all these animations and, you know, momentum shifts and all that we just don't have in Gears 5 anymore. And I do want to point out that potentially lowering the slide speed would be a way to counteract this change, but it still, I don't think, would feel right for the game, in my personal opinion. But that I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. This fifth clip is probably the clip that if I was going to complain about something, this is the one that I would be, because I feel like I got completely screwed over for a kill, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. So let's start at the beginning. You might have noticed something weird with the roll, and we'll definitely get to that. Right here, you can see that she has all of her weight on her right foot. So this foot has all the weight. And I'm getting ready to shoot at her in that direction. She takes one more step, and then I swing my camera over. And in that one frame where I spin my camera, she has stepped back already. Like, with all of her weight on her right foot in this clip, she's already stepped back without really any animation loss. And what this is telling me is that I'm going to have to, instead of aiming at someone where they're going to be, I have to aim at them where they are. And when you can change directions at the drop of a hat, like you're just like, oh, I want to go this way, it becomes kind of a 50-50 guessing game for the player shooting you. And when you start getting in these 50-50 guessing games, you start getting into a game that feels less skillful and less strategic. So after I missed that shot, I kind of learned my lesson. I'm like, okay, I gotta aim at her. So I'm getting ready to pop shot her, mostly because she had just run into the wall. And then she starts her roll as my aim goes in. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to continue ADSing at her and line it up perfectly on her. And then I'm about to pull the trigger because it's lined up, and then all of a sudden I'm down. And you can see that from this frame to this frame is where I go down. You can tell that I'm going down and I can't shoot because the A button to mash to get myself to stand up faster has appeared on the screen. So from this position right here, and I don't know if you remember from the original clip or if you were able to hear it, I'll replay it again and maybe boost the audio if need be. You won't hear her shot fire. But again, in none of these matches were there any like super crazy ping variances. So this kind of thing shouldn't happen in a game where everyone is relatively equal in ping. And then I'll kind of replay this final shot for you, and you can listen to see if you hear the shot. This clip is a little weird because since I've recorded it, I've kind of learned why what happened, and it's because there's a little bit of a difference between what happens when you come out of an up A from Gears 4. It's hard to articulate what the difference is, but I will probably be making a video on that in the future. So it looks like I just got up A, pretty straightforward, and I was just barely shocked that it happened, But this player did have good movement, so I just kind of wanted to... I recorded this not to prove a point, I just wanted to see how I ended up dying. And I noticed that right here, she's in a full roadie run, heading towards my teammate over here on the right, and then in basically 2 frames is aimed over at me, mid roadie run. Never stood up to change directions, which you have to do. But like I said, there is a little bit of a difference with what happens when you come out on up A from Gears 4 to 5. 5 being that I believe you can run like another step and then switch, and it's a much sharper turn than it is in Gears 4. But it's very unpredictable, and I keep saying that word, but that's the biggest thing, is that this problem with not showing these animations or having all these sort of or missing all these animation tweens is very, very hard to read, and it's very hard to react to. And you see that I was just kind of putting damage on a distance because we're playing 2v1. There's no reason to get close, and she's able to just slide into and get an up A. And I don't want to take anything away from this player. She's using the tools that the game gave her, and that's totally fine. She was one of the better players I've seen in the game. And then of course at the end here you can see that the same issue with the up A going from this to this is negligible at best and very hard to read, and know that that's what she's doing. This clip is along the same lines, where I'm trying to figure out how to react to certain things as they happen in this game, because they do happen very quickly. So I'm preparing to go in and flank this guy here who's in the center, and I have a teammate over on my left. And then I'm gonna go out wide so to make sure that I don't get close to this guy, and then you'll see what ends up happening. So you can see that I do everything I think right. I bounce out wide right here and spin my camera, and I'm getting ready to wall cancel in case he ends up being on this cover. He's not, so I identify that, and I see that he's looking off towards the middle of the map. He probably sees that I'm here, so I'm still kind of cautious of that. But as I come around on this up A, I see that he's sliding into the front, this low cover up here. So I'm feeling good. I'm thinking to myself, okay, got this. Going to just go shoot him in the back, no big deal. Then he turns right here. And yes, I know this is not a problem with the wall cancel. This is a problem with this lack of animation on this character model. In Gears 4, you would absolutely be able to cancel this wall, slide to this cover, but the difference is instead of switching in mid-air, or mid-slide, and it looks like he's mid-air actually, that's why I said that, he would have to hit the cover, then turn. And that little bit of delay makes it so much easier to read what he's doing. But I'm not able to, and maybe this is me getting older, I'm not able to react to this player all of a sudden being back towards me in the amount of time. My plan was to hit that cover, maybe back A, just to keep my distance on the player and put down damage and play for the 2-shot. But he was able to close this distance. Anyway, thanks for watching. I don't want you guys to throw any hate at the Coalition for any of this. They have done an amazing job responding to the community's criticisms of the game. I just hope that they look at this video and consider what I've shown when deciding how to progress with changing the movement. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.